You have the ability to pull out how many with that deputy, but it's different at different times. So I can ask the sergeant if they can include that or not.
Yeah. Other questions? All righty, turn it on. Got too excited. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay Walknick. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm with Tualatin Valley Water District. We serve about 226 residents and businesses with drinking water in portions of Hillsborough, Beaverton, Tigard, and of course in CPO 1 and 2. Just want to share a couple projects that we're working on, large projects. The first one is a pump station on Southeast 189th Avenue. Pretty big project. We're building this new pump station so we can pump water up to Cooper Mountain. We're also working on building 2 new reservoirs and another pump station on not on Taylor's Ferry Road, near Taylor's Ferry Road, at our Taylor's Ferry Reservoir site. And that will help serve the Metzger area. And then our largest project, you may have heard of it, the Willamette Water Supply Program. We are in the last couple of years of a 10-year project to basically build an entire new water system that's going to serve our community for 50 plus years into the future. So that's a big one that has lots of smaller projects incorporated in it. By 2026, we're going to turn that new water system online, and we'll start serving water from the mid-Willamette River near Wilsonville, about 17 miles from Portland, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're pulling the water from out of the Willamette River. It's going to be treated at a new water treatment plant in Sherwood. It's going to have a stayover at some reservoirs in Beaverton. And then it's going to make its way to, of course, Tualatin Valley Water District's customers, as well as the city of Hillsborough and Beaverton customers. So just a little bit on that. Yes.
Will the water from Barney Reservoir that's serving us now be commingled with the Willamette, or will there be 2 different systems?
That's a great question. So right now, we are served water that is purchased by Tualatin Valley Water District from the city of Portland, from Bull Run Watershed, and then also from the Tualatin River, the upper Tualatin River. When we come and we go onto the new Willamette system, we will stop taking water from Portland. And we will have a mix, a blend as we like to call it, from the Willamette River and the Joint Water Commission of the Tualatin River. So those will be our 2 sources, and that will serve us well into the future. And again, this is a project that started before, 10, 15 years ago. So this has been a long time in the making. Let's see, a lot of flushing going on. You may see us in and around your neighborhoods. We are flushing through fire hydrants. It's just a general maintenance practice that we use. We basically run water very quickly through the pipes and out hydrants and into the storm or the sewer systems to clean our pipes. And again, that's just something that we're doing all throughout our district. So you'll see that in and around probably where you live. And then let's see, we do have a rate increase that's going to go into effect on November 1st. I know the biggest driver, of course, is this new system. And it's a big deal for us and our customers, and making sure that we have a water system that's ready and resilient well into the future. So again, if you'd like to learn about the Willamette system, you can talk to me, or you can look at our website. There's more information there. It's tvwd.org.
An interesting thing is that the design criteria was something that would be useful 50 years from now. So the water district took a 50-year planning horizon to come up with this project, and I really applaud you guys for the effort that you've made.
Yeah, and we have a lot of time. We have a hard time talking to customers about that because it's a lot on customers right now. A lot of people may not see that well into the future, you know what I mean? But we think about, people who built the system that's serving us now, and that was 50 years ago too. So it's kind of a pay it forward kind of a thing. But just with that rate increase, I want to just make sure that people know that there is assistance available. There's long-term payment agreements. and a customer assistance program. There's more about that on our website that you can go to at tvwd.org. And that's all I have. If there's any questions.
Right there,
Yeah.
over there.
Here's the question.
Oh. Yes, please.
So how do you deal with the fact that some of your water is fluoridated and some is not?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So some of you may have heard that Hillsborough is currently in the process of potentially fluoridating their system. It's going to go to a vote of the people in November, and those customers of Hillsborough Water will determine whether or not they will have their water fluoridated. TVWD fluoridates the majority of our service area. However, we don't fluoridate Metzger, the Metzger area, and that's because that wasn't put to a vote of the people. The other people, the people of the larger system chose and voted that in, and so we abide by that.
But technically, how do you do it?
Oh, how do we do it? That's a great question. We have certain areas in our distribution system that basically inject fluoride into the water supply. And they have to be checked daily on all holidays. So there is a person, there's people on staff that go to each site and make sure that they're running correctly and they're running at the correct dosage. It's a big deal too.
And you're able to, and Metzger's line. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
And Metzger's line is able to be
Yeah.
isolated.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Mhm.
And
In Hillsborough, yeah, where we're taking water from Hillsborough, it's not fluoridated. So if Hillsborough does vote it in, there'll be some pretty big discussions on where they're going to inject fluoride into the system. And
when was the original vote for the
oh
12?
my gosh, that was, don't quote me, I'd say like the 1940s, but I'll do a quick search on my phone and get you some stats on that, but it was a while. 1952?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, closer.
Close enough.
Yeah, that's a great question.
No more questions?
Thank you so much, and I'm right back here if you have any other questions.
Oh, thank you.
Just a reminder for the folks online, if you want to ask a question online, make sure you go in the Q&A functionality and type your question in there, and we have Laurel who's going to be taking the questions online. So just want to make sure that people online know that.
And our next presenter is from Falcon Hills Park and Rec, right?
Yeah.
And I forget, am I right over here?
If you can stand,
Yeah, it's good.
I'm going to move this and then you will be able to.
Okay, sounds great. Hi, everybody. I am Nicole Paulson. I'm the planning supervisor over at Falcon Hills Park and Recreation District. I've got quite a few updates for everybody. Don't want to miss any, so I'm gonna check on my phone here. We have a lot coming up. It's holiday season. It's the start of, even though it's the beginning of October. So we've got winter registration coming up December 7th. We also have our holiday giving drive that is coming up, and that is where we coordinate with Beaverton School District to help families in need and bringing gift cards to grocery stores, merchants, or large retailers. Any amount, you can bring those, drop them by any of our centers between October 22nd and December 6th. We've got winter break camps that we're already ready to sign up for. We also have a couple of Dia de los Muertos events coming up, one at Cedar Hills Rec Center on October 15th, as well as one at Conestoga Rec Center. And so you can go online at THPRD to get more information of those events that you are interested in. We also have letters to Santa opportunities. I know that's a big hit for anybody, kids or adults alike, that would like to write a letter to Santa. They're we're making special arrangements for select THPRD facilities to drop off letters for Santa. And so drop-off times will be November 30th through December 20th. We'll come back at our November meeting when we have more information. We also have a new website, a couple new updates on our website. One is we've changed our rental facility section of our webpage. We've been hearing that it's a little hard to navigate and find. And so now it is up front and up center, all of the rental availabilities. You won't have to go to each individual center. You can just look in one location. And then with that being said, we are working on a full revamp of our website, as well as some of our registration updates. And so for anybody who frequents our website or registration portal, that might be of exciting news to everybody. We'll bring more information as we move forward with that project. We're working on a lot of energy enhancements throughout our facilities, specifically LC Store, Aloha Swim Center, and just looking at ways that we can lower our carbon footprint throughout the area. Lastly, our big move is that Jenkins Estate has opened for programming and rentals. It was a site, it's our historic site. If you have not been there, it's beautiful. We have a master gardener program. The grounds are amazing. The trails are amazing up there. So it is on the south side of the district, off of Farmington Road and Grabhorn, so sort of near Cooper Mountain area. But it largely has not been open for rentals, and we are now opening that up for programming and rental opportunities. So if you know of anybody who needs some sort of holiday party, a wedding, lots of different options. I'll be in the back for a little bit longer to have to answer questions here as well.
Shouldn't be a problem. So, I'm a master gardener for business.
I think you had it the first time, maybe.
I'm a master gardener, and I really am impressed at the gardens that we've created. Manicurating and all landscaping that's up there. And there's a free litter meter box at Jenkins Estate where you can go and just give us a book that you're interested in taking. And if you're interested in taking it, and you bring books, gardening books you don't want, or take gardening books that you do want. And there's master gardeners around to talk to, and it's a beautiful, beautiful estate. We are so lucky that 12 Hills is doing this.
It is very cool. I will, before I leave, I will just in this CPO area, just there are a couple of parks that are starting or under construction. So Abbey Creek Park, the phase 2 portion of that site is currently under construction, as well as a new park. It's through our developer SDC projects, where the developer still owns the property and constructs the park, and then the park district will ultimately take it over. And that's over off of Eleanor and Evelyn. It will house a dog park area, as well as large open space shelters, barbecue, not pits, but barbecue facilities, as well as a playground. So that hopefully will be open, both of them spring, but you'll see dirt moving around and stuff happening, so.
Is there a timeline for the Thompson Road realignment park that's gonna go there? That's through THPRD, right?
It is, that is through THPRD. It is a property that will be a future, it was purchased with funds to be a future neighborhood park. Right now, we don't have a funding source identified within our next 5-year list for that site. And so as we do, we will develop a neighborhood park, and we'll work with the community for engagement within that area.
Will it be accessible as green space or anything in the time being, or is it just like fenced off?
Currently it is fenced off. I believe, I can't remember if a portion of the existing house is still on the site or if they removed all of the I know there were pole barns and a couple of houses that were removed.
It's all gone.
It's all gone. It depends. When the sites are not fully developed, when they're considered undeveloped, they're not maintained in a specificity where we maintain, sites that are used every day. And so, we are having that conversation and there may be more to come, but at this time, usually our undeveloped sites are not. We don't advertise them to be.
And so it doesn't have a name yet.
Which one?
The layman,
The Lehman property.
yeah.
It does not have a name. We would not look at naming that site until we go through the design process of the park. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Move this
Test.
back. So our presenters are actually in line.
Yeah.
We'll work on it until we get it right.
Yeah.
Okay, and do we have another service provider presentation? No? Okay, then we will move on to the next. Oh, that'll work. Thank you so much. We will move on to the next section of our evening, which is presentations on Oregon ballot measure 118, which is called Oregon rebate. We have Antonio Giesberg and Jody Weiser, and Antonio will be sharing information about what is included in this measure, what he projects and hopes that it will accomplish. And Jody will be providing some information that also includes perhaps some less attractive aspects to the measure. And this is mostly for us to be an information. How many of you out there know what measure 118 is? Okay, so good. This is going to be new information for some folks and updated information for others. So, Mr. Giesberg, would you like to step forward? Right. So each of our presenters will have 10 minutes for explaining the information about the measure. And then at the end of their 10-minute time, we will have a question and answer time of each presenter. So take notes.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here in person and Zoom. My name is Antonio Giesberg. I am Chief Petitioner of Measure 118, which was born down in June in 2018, 2019. Back then it was called the Oregon Rebate. It's been an act of love getting all the way here. Next slide, please.
I think you might need to hold the mic just a little further away. It's hard. It's a little fuzzy. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so Measure 118, what does it do? It attempts to resolve a couple of problems that we thought were endemic in our society. Number one being that we felt that there's an issue with corporate tax justice. Specifically, the founders of the Oregon Rebate felt that we felt that the biggest corporations in Oregon are not paying their fair share in taxes. And that's in fact kind of like borne out by the data. So what Measure 118 does, first and foremost, is that it increases the minimum corporate tax rate after $25 million of in-state revenue by 3%. Currently, these big giant corporations are paying less than 0.12% in taxes to the state of Oregon, probably less than that to the federal government. But anyway, we felt that that was unfair, that we as Oregonians at the time were paying between 5 and 2% in taxes. But the biggest corporations that can afford to pay the most, like Comcast, were not paying their fair share, and they were just getting away paying almost nothing. Super important to note that the first $25 million of corporate revenue remains essentially tax-free under Measure 118. That money is not touched by Measure 118 at all. We can have a discussion about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we just don't touch that. Also, it doesn't matter where a corporation is based. A corporation like Comcast, for example, based in Philadelphia, will pay the higher 3% tax after $25 million for whatever they sell in the state of Oregon. So 25 million bucks tax-free, essentially, the first dollar after that, 3%. And similarly, a corporation like Nike, just up the road, and over mountain, will only pay 3% after the first dollar, after $25 million of revenue from the state of Oregon. So whatever Nike sells in California, Europe, or China, that remains untouched by Measure 118. And also, lastly, if a corporation happens to be paying more than 3% in taxes in the state of Oregon, then there's no change. All we're doing is lifting the floor, the minimum tax. We're not touching the corporate income tax, which is 7.6%. The second thing that Measure 118 does, with this new revenue, that's about $6.7 billion a year in the state of Oregon, is that it provides a rebate for every Oregonian every year. It's really important to note that kids count too, so a family of 4 would get 4 rebates. And it's also important to note that that Measure 118 pays for itself administrative cost. The new money comes in, and only the new money goes to pay for the program administration, and then whatever's left over goes back out in the form of rebates to the people of Oregon. So while Measure 118 is designed to be revenue neutral to the state, the impacts of Measure 118 are going to be positive, and we'll talk about that in the next slide, please. So what do we want Measure 118 to accomplish? Number one, we want to make giant corporations start to pay their fair share in taxes and level the playing field when it comes to taxation. Again, giant corporations pay less than 0.12%. We find that unconscionable. You and I pay between 4.75 and 9.9% now. And importantly, small local businesses are generally pass-through entities, so they pay effectively the personal income tax of between 5 and 10%. So that just seems to be today to be upside down. And by increasing the corporate minimum tax for the biggest corporations by 3%, we feel that we take a big important step to correct that inequity. And the second thing that Measure 118 does is that we feel it's going to provide a broad-based personal economic security and opportunity. So according to the Legislative Revenue Office, the value of the rebates are going to be about $1,600 per person per year. Kids count too, so a family of 4 will get $6,400. That's a ton of money. I counted some heads here before I stood up. There's about 20 of us here and on Zoom. That's about $32,000. So importantly, this is going to be like our money for us to use as we wish. You might ask yourself, could I use $1,600? Maybe you can. Maybe you wear a top hat and a monocle on weekends and you have no use for $1,600. And that's totally fine, but importantly, it's up to you. However, 44% of Oregonians cannot cover their monthly costs. And that's also a shame. We have statistics from an independent research group that suggests that Measure 118 will decrease overall poverty in the state by about a quarter and child poverty by about half. That's a giant deal, right? I mean, I don't know how many of you work in low-income communities. That's a huge effect size. Last but not least, it's not just like abstract justice in terms of taxation that is important. for like our own economic security and opportunity, but also let's think a minute about our communities. Did some quick math in Washington County, it's about $958 million every year of like additional wealth that comes into your county. For Hillsborough, it's $172 million. That's a ton of money in downtown Hillsborough, right? Again, your local pizza shop, coffee shop, probably does not sell 25 million bucks worth of pizza or coffee. So they're not gonna pay more in taxes, but every single one of their customers is gonna have extra 1,600 bucks, hopefully to spend locally. And again, you can think of how this cash has the potential to really revitalize our local economies, and that's really what we want to do. Next slide, please. I'm gonna touch on, I was run over here for you. Super quickly, these numbers come from the legislative revenue office. Yeah, I have a timer. But I also have 2 slides to go. So these are not my numbers, these are from the legislative revenue office. The report from July. They estimated the rebate to be about 1,600 bucks. Full time will take it. They also estimate that the personal income tax will go down. The typical personal income tax return will go down by 2,100 bucks because Oregonians can claim the rebate on their taxes and therefore their tax liability goes down. This statistic is kind of fascinating, right? So that fact lowers Oregon's ranking on personal income tax from 24th highest in the nation to 8th highest in the nation. So it really puts us in a much better position from like the pressure that we feel paying our taxes. And third point here is that we really targeted this tax increase well to the biggest corporations that can afford to pay more tax the most. That's less than 2% of all S&C corps. So it's really a very small group of corporations that are going to have to pay a bit more. Now, about 3 quick items with the excess about the legislative revenue office. Nobody's perfect. We don't have to agree with them. We don't have to agree on everything. But we feel that the legislative revenue office report has a huge flaw in that it does not consider the positive economic stimulus effects of the Oregon rebate. So when you read it, it sort of talks about like corporations have to pay more taxes, blah, 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 which is true. But then the report doesn't stop to mention that this money is going to be in our communities and it's going to be used the way people use money, like we used money in the pandemic when we got pandemic stimulus checks to revitalize our economies. So that aspect is missing from the report. I just want to flag that for you. In super short, Measure 118 is demand side economics, which is the opposite of Reaganomics or trickle-down economics, right? Another thing about the LRO report is that their like long-term projections are notoriously inaccurate. The LRO report uses the same model that the state uses to predict the state's economy, and those errors lead to the kicker. And so the last error was $5 billion. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. And then, sorry, last sentence. The last bit is actually really important. I am sure that Joy is going to come up here and tell you how the Legislative Revenue Office estimates that Measure 118 is going to increase inflation by 1.3%. It is very important to note that what the report actually says that might happen by the year 2030, not every year. It's on page 17. That QR code will take you to the report. You can read it for yourself, or you can read it here. I have a copy of it. 1.3% inflation over 5 years. It's about 190 bucks per person per year of inflation. Remember, you're going to be paying 1,600 bucks, so you're going to be up. Having said that, I'm going to stop. Breaks all over. Thank you for your patience. I gotta say that I have some materials in the back, including the full text and my card. I'm not going to be able to stick around for long, but please feel free to grab stuff or grab me afterwards if you have any questions. Thank you.
We do have a question from Zoom from Katie. She asked, has anyone tried to look at unintended consequences of this measure?
It's almost like a too big a question, but thank you, Kate, for the question. It's hard to say what is, I mean, it's not an unintended consequence, like reducing poverty is very much an intended consequence. So we're definitely doing that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm sure Joy's going to talk about. For example, the state of Oregon, folks in the state of Oregon are arguing that Measure 118 is going to decrease general fund dollars for other stuff. And we absolutely, there's zero merit to that idea. We were very careful that the only bit of money that goes to cover the rebates and the program itself is the increase in corporate tax revenue, not the total corporate tax revenue of the state. We can probably go get a beer and speculate why legislators are saying that. It's okay. But yeah, we were very careful to design the full text. We try to anticipate everything, even the fact that low-income Oregonians might be threatened. Being less poor has the unintended consequence of jeopardizing individuals' income-based benefits. That's just what it means to be low-income and getting income-based benefits. That's a much bigger conversation. And importantly, we built 4 different levels of protection for those folks. So we're sort of like really intentional, thinking about how, making sure that we cover all our bases. So we cannot predict the future. There might be something weird, but we think that we've got it. Last point. The ballot initiative, right? If we vote yes on November 5, or please don't vote your ballot on November 5. So when they count after November 5, I should say, right, when it comes to November 5, corporations start to pay the high minimum tax on January 1, 2025, but the rebates don't go out until 2026. And again, we did that intention. But what that means is that there's the full calendar year 2025 with its long legislative session for us to work with the legislature and like DAS and whoever else to make sure the program is implemented well. So we have that year of bandwidth to catch whatever needs catching. So we feel really good about that too.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Microphone I think broken, so you may just have to scream.
Let's see. Ooh, it works. So, housing. One of the questions I have is a large builder in the state, like D.R. Horton, the ability to sell 50 houses at the mid-range of 500,000 per house. That would put him at the 25 million. So each house that he sells beyond those 50 houses would then have to pay the 3% tax on it?
That's a good question, and that's really up to D.R. Horton. And this is a national corporation, right? And it's important to keep in mind that the Oregon state economy is about 1.2 or 1.3% of the entire US economy. So this DR or DH Horton company, realistically speaking, for these giant corporations, the effect of a 3% tax increase in 1.3% of their US market share after accepting the first $25 million is really not that much. Like I'm sure that D.R. Horton makes more money in California in 1 month than they do in Oregon all year. It's probably like in 1 week.
But wouldn't it encourage them to say, we built our 50 houses, we can't build any more in Oregon? And when we have a housing shortage, is that something we want to encourage it?
Well, normally commerce goes where customers have the money, right? And so, for example, talking to a friend of mine who's a real estate realtor, right? The way he does this math in his head, it's like, look, for that family starting off, those $6,400, that's almost halfway there to their first down payment for their house. And so, from that perspective, when people have more cash, they're gonna be perhaps using it to buy more houses or paying for the higher water bill or whatever it is, right? And so, not all $1,600, not $1,600, I'm sure. And so like, that's sort of kind of how the economy works, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
we need money to spend money so that people can sell houses. If we don't have any money, they're not gonna sell any houses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone, Paz. You said 338 corporations are likely to be affected by this. How many are already paying at the 3% or higher level? Not those 338, but others that are already reaching that level.
Almost none. Yeah, and so
Intel is one of them.
I mean, so it's important to note that like it is like it's a secret how much taxes any one corporation pays, right? But I mean, like every April 15, right? Like every newspaper in the country puts out an article saying that like, giant corporations, Apple, Nike, Wells Fargo, how they don't pay taxes. Maybe Intel is being an amazing, awesome corporate citizen, and like great for them. Importantly, if they're paying more than 3%, then they won't have to pay a penny more. So awesome. Because all we're doing is raising the floor, not raising the max tax rate.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one question. I believe I see Roger's hand is up. We're gonna do something with the sound real quick. Okay.
Hello? Yeah, hi. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
There we go. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Can you hear him?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, how do you determine who an Oregonian is? Tax forms, is it children? How did you determine children? What if you have a residence, two residences, maybe one in Washington, one in Oregon? What if you have divorced parents, or how does that work? Is it all off a 1040, or what if you don't file a 1040?
That's a great question. Yeah. So, the state of Oregon has a pretty good sense of who's here and who's not. And the only criteria that we use is to have you be an Oregon resident for 200 days of the calendar year. And we'll pick that day because that's a day that's important for personal tax filing. If you live in the state more than 200 days, you're an Oregonian for tax filing purposes. And so just like when you file your taxes, you say you're in a household, you have like whoever's filing the taxes, and you have the little box for dependents, right? And so it's just a simple count. Even we did a lot of outreach to, for example, the communities of the house Oregonians when we're developing full text. And even folks who, for example, are on the house and almost certainly don't file taxes, they're still in the system in some capacity. For example, they have OHP, they get food stamps, right? They might have a driver's license or a state ID. So we know very well who people are. If my mom and dad love them to death who live in the Miami area in Florida, if they want to like request a rebate, well, they've never been to Oregon, right? It'll be very easy to figure out these folks are not Oregonians. So the state knows, for better or for worse, the state keeps track of where we are, depending on the political leanings, that might be a bad thing, but so the state knows. And we're scaffolding all those systems to make sure the program is lightweight to implement.
Any other questions right now? So my timekeepers, how are we doing?
20 minutes.
Are we over or we?
It's 7:52.
Oh.
Okay. So.
Sorry.
No.
Keep track of how long questions and answers.
Jody, are you ready to?
It sounds like it's 10 minutes for presentations and then Q and A, depending on how.
Takes as long
many
as it takes.
questions. Yep. And do you have slides or?
I do.
So Antonio's experienced this, and I have not talked to a group of people about this measure before. So you've heard Measure 118 proposes a 3% gross receipts tax on those corporations who do more than $25 million worth of sales in Oregon. And it uses the money that's collected, expected to be about $7 billion a year, to make equal payments to those people who live in Oregon after the costs of running the program are already taken out. And they will give money to everybody, whether they're struggling financially or not. The measure itself appeals to the principles that I and probably you support. Increasing taxes on large businesses that are finding ways to avoid paying their fair share. And ensuring that people who live in Oregon live with dignity. Those are absolutely important goals, and it's why I started an organization called Tax Fairness Oregon 20 years ago to try to work on keeping our tax system fair. But despite the fact that we share these common goals, that's where actually the common ground between Measure 118 proponents and I step aside. The proponents and the funders that paid to get the measure on the ballot have focused the measure towards helping people in need. And they came up, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. If the proponents and the funders had developed a measure that helped people in need and came up with a measure that would actually work smoothly without damaging the general fund, that would be one thing. But it's not what they did. If they'd used an idea that had been tried elsewhere and worked, that would make sense. But this is an idea that has never been tried in any city, county, or state. Others who understand taxes better tried to get the proponents to fix some of the flaws, but they refused. So this is the measure that we'll be voting on. As I see it, and the business community would say things that don't bother me, right? As I see it, there are 4 big flaws. It gives rebates to everyone regardless of income. It siphons money away from the state that should be used for other things that we all value, from education, public safety to low-cost housing. It will raise prices for food, housing, medicine, utilities, gas, supplies. There are no carve-outs for anything. And it treats similar businesses differently. And it has a whole harmless clause provision that will not work in a timely way. So let me explain each of those flaws. Measure 118 gives money to everyone. We believe that tax money should be used where it's needed. Measure 118 does not put $7 billion that it will raise only in the pockets of the families that are struggling. It gives money to everyone regardless of income. And that's a waste of resources. The money that will go to people who don't need it could give free education for higher education and trades education to everybody that wants it in the state. That $3 to $4 billion is a huge amount of money. The legislature has about $15 billion a year to spend. This measure adds $7 billion a year, but dictates how it will be spent with rebates to everyone. It will also, because of the way of interaction between the laws, reduce the money in the general fund by about $1 billion. So we currently have 15, it changes of course every year, but we currently are spending about 15 billion a year, and it will reduce the amount of money available by $1 billion. That is going to come out of everything. Second, the proposed rebate would siphon tax money away from the general fund, sabotaging other priorities. And it'll do that in 2 ways. Just like families, all businesses will see price increases when they buy goods and services, but only 2,400 businesses will actually pay the tax directly. All the rest of the probably 300,000 different businesses in the state won't be affected directly, but they will have higher costs. They'll pay more when they buy uniforms. They'll pay more when they pay rent. They'll pay more when they buy utilities. So they will be affected just like families will be by increased costs. And this is small sliver of businesses will pay the higher tax. Currently, the corporations figure their taxes 2 ways, the minimum tax and the income tax, and they pay one of the 2. Under Measure 118, most of the companies, most of that 2,400 companies will go from paying the income tax to paying the minimum tax. So their taxes will go up. Well, what happens is that income tax will no longer be going into the general fund. It'll be going into the rebates. And that's how most of the loss of the general fund happens. There's other things about the funding that the money that comes out of gas funds has to go to this and that. There's questions about whether S corps will be included or only C corps. There's lots of other details, but that's the biggest piece of the LRO report about why the general fund will have $1 billion less to spend. Meanwhile, this massive increase in taxes for businesses will make Oregon look like a state that really taxes businesses high. And so when the state needs more money, it'll be decades before they'll be able to look to the business community to get more money. It's going to have to come out of personal taxes in the future or fees, because business taxes will be the highest business taxes in the country. And that will make it so that we not only do we lose $1 billion, but we can't pass another tax or increase the cap tax, which brings us more than a little over $1 billion a year. We won't be able to increase that because we want to better fund K-12 or higher ed or housing or whatever, because it's already been done by this measure. If the state needs more money in the future, it'll just be too hard. We definitely think there is a lot of room to increase taxes on businesses here in Oregon and around the world, but there's only so much that a state can do. In the last decade, Oregon has stopped sending the corporate kicker back to corporations. That money goes to K-12 education now. And it has implemented the new cap tax, a tax that is like the Measure 118 tax, but it's 1/7 of its size. Many large businesses, whether corporations or privately held businesses, pay low taxes by using tax loopholes, accounting tricks, and tax shelters. That's true. And I'm indignant about that as much as Antonio is. But this isn't the solution. The solutions really have to be made in Congress where the loopholes were created. It's very hard for the state to do it. And the measure does not even treat all big businesses the same. A new house built by Toll Brothers or Horton would directly pay the tax. But one built by Arbor Custom Homes or Renaissance Homes would not. One is, some are corporations and others are privately held partnerships. But the Measure 118 tax is only on corporations. Both builders would find their costs for materials higher. There's no doubt about that. But as the business community claims, there would be permitting of that 3% tax. And you can see that in this flyer that I'll pass up. This is how they do it. And it's an exaggeration, but we could pass these along in several hours each. But when it's time to sell the house, Toll and Horton sell a new house in North Bethany for $800,000. They have to pay a $24,000 tax. When Renaissance or Arbor builds the same $800,000 house, they don't have to pay the $24,000 tax. That's not fair to businesses. It's also not fair to home buyers. Because what will happen is Horton will raise their prices, and then Arbor will be able to raise their prices too and just make more profit off of it. That it's not a good solution. The bill just isn't a good solution.
We're at time. We're at our time.
I'm at 5 minutes.
10.
I'm at 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so Anthony went over. Can I go over?
He went over with Q&A, so we have questions, right?
Yeah. Let me give my last point. The measure says that the state is supposed to ask the federal government, not all this income, for people who are eligible for subsidy. And if the federal government says no to that, the state has to figure out a way to make families whole. Well, we know the federal government will say no. They've already said no to other things that us and other states have asked. So we know they'll say no. So then the state has to figure out how to do it. And what will happen is a family will lose eligibility for food stamps or WIC or Medicaid or Section 8 housing. And then the state has to figure out how to give them the money to make up for what they lost. If you lose Section 8 housing, you go to the bottom of the list and start over again. And that the money to pay for that will come out of the rebate funds instead of from federal funds. So we're really taking local money and giving it to the federal government in a way. That's the third real problem with the bill. We're wasting revenue. We're siphoning away money from the general fund. We're raising prices and treating similar businesses differently. And we have a hold harmless provision that will be extremely difficult to do well. It was designed by a group with really good intentions, but with little real experience in designing tax law. And we urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions? Okay, questions from the room?
Is the rebate taxable? Did I hear that? Is it?
That it's not taxable in Oregon because that's in the measure, and it will be taxable by the federal government.
I don't think you mentioned it. They would be taxing sales and not revenue, right? So that's another way that.
Revenue is sales.
Well, but like their actual sales versus how much money they make.
Profit. They're taxing sales
And
not
not
profit. The reason the grocery stores are top of the list for funding it is that they don't make 3%.
Right.
So they have to raise their prices in order to stay in business.
I was just mentioning it because I think it's a good
Yeah,
point for how it treats companies differently.
right, yes, it's for companies that have lots of profit. It's not a big deal, but for any company that is not high, doesn't have a big profit margin, then it becomes a big deal. I asked a neighbor who used to own a grocery store, how much does a grocery store sell a year? And he indicated probably about $50 million at our local Safeway. So that would be on half of their money, they would be paying 3%.
No questions from Zoom.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think, I appreciate both of you coming tonight. It's, when I saw this measure, I thought, this is interesting. What is this all about? And so I appreciate you providing with us with the information. And I think you've raised some questions and given us all at least a background so we can do our own research and to make a decision. So that's what it's all about, is information. So appreciate that. Great. Okay. Now, at this point, Mary had asked to make a couple of announcements that would be pertinent to both CPO1 and CPO7. So for any CPO1 folks, hang on just a sec. And
So first off, Bethany Link, it's a shuttle that runs from PCC Rock Creek to Sunset Transit. It should have started service today. I didn't see any buses out. That doesn't mean they were out. I'm sure they were out. If you go to our CPO7 Washington County Facebook page, we have information there about the route and where the stops are and the timetable. And it is a free shuttle. So I encourage you guys to look into that.
That's on the CPO7 website?
CPO7 Facebook, CPO7 Washington County Facebook. There are also 2 town halls that are coming up. One is for Pam Treese, and it is this Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. And it will be at the Murray Building, the county's Murray Building. It is at 3700 Southwest Murray Boulevard in Beaverton.
Thank you, Mary.
And then Catherine Carrington has a town hall the following Thursday, October 24th, 6 to 7 p.m. at the Murray Boulevard building. And what I will say is Pam's open houses, if you have to choose between one and the other, Pam's open houses tend to be more open and free flowing with lots of time to ask questions. Catherine tends to have more of an agenda. So there isn't as good an opportunity to ask those questions that you have. We also have two.
Plus I bring popcorn and cookies.
There's also 2 open neighborhood meetings that are coming up, and they're both virtual. One is tomorrow, Tuesday, October 15th. And it is about a planned 29 lot subdivision going in on Thompson Road, just east of Finley Elementary. Yeah, the school is east, the side is west. Thank you. And then there's information posted again on our Facebook page if you're interested in finding out information about how to attend that meeting. You actually have to pre-register for that one. And then there's one coming up on October 30th, and that one is in, for a parcel in North Bethany. It is planned for October 30th, beginning at 6 p.m. Again, the information is posted on our CPO7 Washington County Facebook page, if you're interested in attending that one. That one you don't have to be registered for. And they have a link, and it's not clear that it's Zoom, but I'm pretty sure it's a Zoom link. So, information is available on that. So there you go.
The CCI meeting tomorrow.
Oh, there is a CCI meeting tomorrow, if anybody's interested in attending that. That is actually the leaderships from the CPOs, and Bruce Bartlett actually is chair of that. What's on the agenda, Bruce?
Well, can I come up and say a
You
few
can,
words?
you can.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm curious, how many participants do we have on Zoom tonight?
11.
11 people. That's great. This is wonderful. I have been involved in this business for 25 years. I have come to chair the leadership group of all the CPOs, the Washington County Committee for Community Involvement. We're having a meeting tomorrow night, Zoom meeting, virtual meeting. The housing department is going to be presenting their 5-year consolidated plan to address both housing production and homelessness. The county has combined the housed people and the houseless people into one department in the county, and we will be getting an overview, detailed overview of what they plan. We also have a modernization of the CPO program discussion that we'll have based on the presentation we had last month. And this is all linked in the announcement that you got. And so Virginia Bruce is the venerable chair of CPO1, and I am the vice chair of CPO1. We've switched off over the 20 years or so. And she has become burdened by health issues that prevent her from fully doing what she used to do. She does have a meal train going, actually, which I'll put into the minutes of the meeting so you can help contribute if you're inclined. So the modernization program is very likely going to change the boundaries of the CPOs, and they will be aligned with the Washington County Commissioner districts. So there's 4 commissioner districts, 4 commissioners, plus the chair, Catherine Harrington. And so it's, it'll be a sea change. And so in a way, having CPO 1 and 7 in a combined meeting now is a precursor to probably how they'll be structured in the future. And you'll still get the same kind of information. We'll just have a larger audience, perhaps, in Zoom. I could go on and on and on and on and on, but I won't. If you had anybody had a question you wanted to ask me about something, yes.
I have a question. The meeting tomorrow about the house list, I can't attend that, but do you record those meetings?
We do record those meetings, and we have a YouTube channel that Virginia owns.
So I can find that just by looking at the CCI.
Once, yes, yeah, the Washington County, I'll put the link make sure the links get in the minutes of this meeting.
I appreciate
it. And yes, Virginia has been central to recording the CCI programs and getting it posted. And so we're having a bit of there's a who's going to catch this thing that she's been doing situation going on now. So if anybody has a lot of YouTube experience and wants to say, yeah, we'll step in. I mean, this whole thing is run by people who show up. And the closer you get, the more you do. So you kind of gauge just how close you get. And with that, I thank you for your time and listening. And here's Nancy.
Thank you so much. And that actually segues brilliantly into our next segment, which is steering committee elections for CPO7. So CPO1 members are very welcome to stay with us. But what we will be doing now is just looking ahead for the upcoming year. And we had a nominating committee, and Mary Manso, Tanya, and Kenzo were on that, and we have individuals who have agreed to take on steering committee roles for CPO7. I'm okay with continuing as chair.
And we do see that her arm is bent like backwards.
And Mary Manso has agreed to continue as co-chair and our CCI representative.
No. Vice chair.
Vice chair.
I keep trying to do that.
Yeah. It was definitely worth a try. Jeff Petrillo, who has been participating as a member at large, has agreed to take on, I can't see without my glasses, the vice chair for Bethany, which has been vacant for this last several months. Tanya Macedo has agreed to continue functioning as a recording secretary, and we're hopeful that Jennifer Schwinghammer will agree to participate in that role in a job sharing, basically with Tanya. And David Shettles has agreed to continue as a member at large. As far as I'm concerned, the nominations are still open. So if anyone here feels that they would like to fill one of the empty positions still, or that you're interested in taking the job of chair, we could talk about that. So, but if I don't see anyone online or here in our group who wishes to self-nominate or nominate someone else, then I will go ahead and close the nominations for this round of elections. And then we can move on with a vote. Yes, Stafford, my spouse.
Not necessary.
Well, it may be.
I'm a member of CPO7. I move that we accept the slate of nominees and elect them by acclamation and close the meeting.
We're not going to close.
For
the
that
meeting.
purpose.
I second it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So
We'll make it more work than it has to.
So we do have a couple of CPO7 updates. Our November meeting is going to be changed. Typically, we meet on the second Monday, but that is a holiday. And so so we will be meeting on the 12th, November 12th, that's the Tuesday. We're meeting in a new location as well. And that will be at Fire Station 68. The address for that is in your CPO, it's in the agenda for this month and will be in the agenda with next month. It's my understanding that that is the fire station that CPO7 used to meet at. So for some of you, this will be closer and very familiar.
We have a question. We have a question for CPO1, whoever's still here. When was the last time CPO1 had an election?
Oh, Bruce left. I think that's a good question. I don't know.
It's been a while, and if somebody wants to volunteer as chair, I'm sure they would be thrilled. Or co-chair. Yeah.
That might be actually a really good thing. I mean, that should be part of the bylaws that identifies when you do elections. Our CPO7 bylaws show we do our elections in October. So, that's for anyone from CPO1, I would email, Bruce Bartlett and, suggest to him that that's a question that should be answered. Thank you. Excellent question. Next, we continue to have a steering committee or a traffic safety subcommittee that's been meeting on a regular basis. And they've been monitoring what's happening with the traffic concerns and other neighborhood issues. And Tanya is part of that team. Would you like to give an update about the traffic safety subcommittee?
Yeah, we do have an update.
All right.
Yeah. So, okay. So hi, everybody. My name is Tanya Masello, and I first got involved with the CPO7 program after a big development. Got started on 150th and Pioneer Road. And if you all are familiar with that area, it is 2 dead-end streets and 70 cottage clusters are going to be added to that area. We don't even have a four-way stop sign or sidewalks. So it's a big issue for us. And so we are participating in the neighborhood safety program, which we are submitting a form for safety measures on 150th and Pioneer Avenue. Because we know that the traffic there is going to get really bad. Again, no sidewalks, no speed bumps, no nothing. So that is what we're working on, but that's not the only thing we're working on. We have also members who have concerns about Kaiser Road, for example, who are participating in those conversations. And so we're kind of using this as a bit of like a case study and getting neighbors who are concerned about their street safety to come in and kind of chat about it and see where we can all kind of support each other on that. So if you're interested, we meet on a monthly basis on, I think it's third Wednesday. Information about the traffic subcommittee is on the CPO7 newsletter. And you can always
And there's a link to the Zoom.
Yes, there's also a link to the Zoom. So there's about, I think, 12 people meeting so far. But anyways, if you're interested, just let us know. And we're going to be providing updates on the neighborhood safety program as we kind of work through it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mary Ann, so is going to give us an update about the, well, she'll let you know.
So we've been having a few questions about, 185th, where it crosses the light rail at, what road is that?
Baseline.
Yes, Baseline. And, now that they're running more trains on, Max Line, it becomes really difficult to get through that intersection. And City of Hillsborough is pursuing a grant with the federal government. The board of, the county commissioners also supported the, Hillsborough's efforts in that. And so everybody's thinking about getting some improvements. They're talking about an overpass, which would completely remove the traffic from 185th from having to deal with, the stops that are created by the next line. So we're hopeful that something will come about, that it's encouraging knowing that both City of Hillsborough and the county are really keeping their eyes open about potential lots of money to get that issue corrected.
Yes, for anybody who's ever sat and waited through a light and then had two cars cross baseline, and then the light suddenly changes for you again because the max is coming down. I think this is fantastic. I'm very excited to see this in process. A minor change, the steering committee typically for CPO7 typically meets the Monday following our general meeting. But because of some scheduling issues with our team, we will actually be meeting on the 17th. And that's Thursday, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
And we will be meeting from 2 to 3 p.m. So the Zoom link is the same. Just wanted you to know, everybody is welcome to participate in those. It's great to get feedback and after you've had a chance to think about what we've been talking about. So we love to hear ideas, anything you would like to talk about at future meetings, please let us know. Criticisms, comments, always welcome.
Suggestions for topics too.
Suggestions for topics, that was one of the next things, because now we have, actually, it's time for open forum. So does anyone have something that they would like to share, a concern about issues that may be occurring in CPO7?
Were you gonna talk about the training that's happening later this month?
No.
You're not gonna let anybody know about that.
Okay. That's the 21st. And that's regarding the modernization.
Modernization, but it's also going to touch on public meeting laws.
Public meeting law.
Okay. So do you have the time and date for that? And if anyone is interested in, it's a Zoom link meeting?
It is a Zoom link meeting, and I think it's 5:30, which is a really odd time. I can post something on our Facebook page about it.
Tanya, did you have a comment?
Yes. So I attended a CCI meeting, I think it was last month,
Yes.
which was 4 weeks ago about.
Yeah.
All of the CPO leaders had a lot of feedback on modernization. And probably 10 points that we didn't agree on with the new modernization of the CPO program. So, I would encourage people to attend those meetings if you have not, because it sounds like the program is going to be changing significantly more than Bruce kind of shared today. And I'm actually surprised that the training is happening so soon, because given the significant amount of feedback that the community had to give, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a finalized, polished plan. At least it would be surprising if it was final. So that's kind of, I don't know, I haven't heard any other updates.
I think they're just gonna roll out the same old information. They're still taking input,
Okay.
as if they didn't get enough already.
Okay.
So we can publish that information on the CPO7 Facebook page
Yes,
with, and the Zoom link that folks can access.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would encourage you, even if it's just to find out what's it's somewhat in the planning stages, but I think there's been conversations about this at the county level, and it's about the roles of CPOs and just the long-term mission and how that works in conjunction with the county. So it's so the Facebook page, CPO7 Facebook page will have information on how to attend that meeting.
Roger has his hand up. Roger, are you able to unmute?
Hi, it's Roger again.
Hi, Roger.
Hi, Ron.
Hi. Yeah, I'm a CPO1 guy, and I've been interested in traffic safety, and I've been I went to the meeting of Pam's, and then, I've been talking to ODOT and studying the laws in Oregon, and, the, I'm interested in traffic speed cameras, automated speed camera systems. Right now, the cities have authority to use those, at least on some basis, a limited basis, and I think it's being extended because they've been successfully used in Portland and Tigard. ODOT's trying to get the approval to also be able to install them. But for some reason, the counties aren't they aren't authorized to install speed cameras on county roads. So I happen to live in an urbanized area of the county. A lot of cut through traffic from Highway 26, interurban travel, very high speeds, 60, 70 miles an hour on a 35-mile-per-hour road. It's really getting out of hand. The Washington County Sheriff doesn't have the staffing to patrol these areas. They have limited staff. I think it's 9 to 5, 2 officers for the whole county. So really the only solution would seem to be automated systems. So I was just wondering if CPO7, anyone there is interested in, asking maybe county officials to support the idea of seeking authority for traffic speed cameras.
And Roger, it sounds like you've done a lot of research and have some good information to share about this. Have you been in touch with the team from CPO7, our traffic safety subcommittee?
No, I haven't been in touch with them, but sounds like it's an active and large committee, so I'd be happy to.
That would be great. If you would like to, why don't you email, if you could email CPO7 leaders at gmail.com.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
That's on our, the agenda that came today. So if you have any questions, you can also go to the county website if you lose that email address. It sounds like we could use your expertise in this. So thank you.
Could I make a comment here, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Roger, I can't see you, but it's nice to hear you again. The issue I raised it at our URMDAC meeting, which is the Urban Road Maintenance District meeting, with one of our deputy sheriffs that was there. And my understanding is that it's a legislative issue, that the cities or municipalities can do this, but the counties cannot. And my understanding from the deputy is that the deputy sheriff's organization is going to be advocating for a change in Salem this coming session. So I just want you, that doesn't mean that there aren't other issues that we can work on now, but I thought I would give you that update, Roger.
That's very good news, Pam. I appreciate that. What can we do to help to support that legislative effort?
Well, I think the best thing to do right now is I will watch to see how that bill progresses, if it gets dropped and if it progresses. I've talked to our government relations department and they will keep me informed on that as well. So then I can let you know and you can go and testify.
Is that something that the county commission would support? Have you had any discussion at that level?
We have not discussed it from the standpoint of the commission. It's not on our legislative agenda at this point in time, but I plan to talk to the sheriff to see if it's on her agenda.
Okay, well, that's good news. If the sheriff's behind it, that,
Well, I'm gonna find out if she is.
okay, so the patrol, the captain of the patrol, he's in favor of it, it sounds like.
Well, he reported that it was something that they were looking at their statewide association.
Okay, yeah,
So I just want you to know that I remembered our discussion and I brought it up, and that's what I found out.
very good. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for the
Absolutely.
support.
Absolutely.
Okay. Good night.
Hey, Roger, this is Megan Rasmussen with Washington County Sheriff's Office. I just,
Oh, thank you.
I'm not gonna say one way or the other what's going on. I don't know that.
You're still there.
Wanted to encourage you to email me. I'm also the representative for CPO1, so I can follow up with our traffic team to get you more information, get you connected. And the traffic team did come present to CPO7
Yes.
a while back, and I'm sure they would be more than happy to speak with CPO1 as well.
And just so that you know, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name, but he was head of the traffic division, he said.
Yeah.
So he's got like 10 people working with him. So that's, and he talked about it from the perspective of the statewide organization.
Yeah, and he could definitely give more information on that as he works specifically in traffic and is the sergeant that looks at all traffic for the county, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Feel free to email me and I'm more than happy to pass on those questions and get that answered for you.
Yeah, we had the sergeant come to the CPO and present, and yeah, I mean, I hate to bother the sheriff about it because I understand staffing is very difficult these days. And I was reading the Portland report on traffic cameras, and one of the points they make is that it's it a lot of one of the problems staffing is getting harder is because people, it's risky to pull people over these days, physically pull the car over, and it just seems like cameras would be a good technology to use for safety of the officer as well as the rest of the traveling public. So I hate to bother the sheriff. They're already busier than heck and have so many problems to deal with. When
Well,
we
you
can
can
bring the
always
sheriff
email
to it.
me. That's my job security. So, please send them
Okay,
your,
all right.
so I can answer as many questions as I'm able to, and if not, I know who to go to and who will have the availability to answer those questions.
Well, what is the time frame for a legislative, for something like this, if the counties would get together and support this measure? How, do we have to just immediately get on this, or do we have a month or two, or what is the calendar down there in Salem for something like this?
Talk to your state legislator.
Yes, that's a good question for one of your state legislators.
And it doesn't start until, the session doesn't start until after the first of the year.
You've got some time yet.
So, and I'm not, and I just want to make sure that you understand, it was an association that represents the deputies, not the counties, that was promoting this, is my understanding. So I just don't want to have any confusion, Roger. I don't want you to think that the counties are doing this when they're not. That isn't.
Well, yeah, thank you. Well, what about at the county level? When do you set your lobbying agenda for your for this upcoming session?
We are doing our legislative agenda right now. This is not on the legislative agenda for us. We have other issues that we're facing. But that, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know what the sheriff's response would be. And I think you've heard from our representative at CPO tonight that she will follow through at the sheriff's office.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay.
We have another question
Thank you.
from Laurel Fisher.
Yes, I have a question for Commissioner Treese, if you're willing to answer it. we live on 150th Avenue and there's a middle housing application in right now for 70 cottages.
Did I just get an email from you?
No, I didn't, not today.
Okay, okay, because you're right off 26th and Murray?
Yes, we're at 150th Avenue and Pioneer Road. But I
Right.
didn't email you today. Someone else probably did.
But I did get it and I forwarded it to our LUT department to get more information, and I haven't received that information yet. But keep going with your question.
Okay, I called the LUT as well today, so hopefully they'll get back to both of us. We're just wondering, would you be willing to come out to our neighborhood to just take a look at what middle housing, the impact it's having, and that just kind
Sure.
of get some information that way?
Absolutely. The best thing for you to do, if you don't mind, is to send an email to me at pam_treese@washingtoncounty.gov and to my scheduling assistant. Her name is Maida. It's MEDHA_Hula, PULLA, with the same ending to the email.
Okay.
Make that request. I'd be happy to come out.
Okay, we'd appreciate it because we know it's very new, legislation, and it's having very real impacts on our neighborhood.
Okay, I'd be happy to come out.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. And thank you for typing those emails up.
Oh,
All right, appreciate it.
I didn't do that, but somebody did. Thank you.
Okay, so, any other new issues? Any other comments? No? We are approaching 9 o'clock. With no new business.
Move to adjourn.
Do I-
Can I just make one comment before you adjourn quickly? I just want to say congratulations on your slate of people that will be working at CPO7. It's a great slate, great people, and lots of experience. Jeff Petrillo, for example, has been on the planning commission. I know Mary Manso has been on the planning commission. You've got a really good depth of knowledge with this group. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I recommend inviting Pam to a meeting if she'll bring popcorn and Tristan.
No, you got to come to my meeting.
Yeah, Tristan.
You come to my meeting and I'll bring you cookies and popcorn.
We can always
do have
invite her and maybe we can bring our own Tristans.
I was actually going to come tonight and my schedule didn't allow for it, so I
We
apologize.
appreciate you being here virtually. That's wonderful.
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Before we adjourn, it looks like an acronym TKWC has raised their hand.
Sorry about that. I meant to, this is Fran Warren of Tree Keepers of Washington County. Yeah, yes. So two things. One is I really appreciate this hybrid meeting and all the topics that were presented. Thank you very much for everybody's time and energy. It's not easy to put together. And someone mentioned about the Planning Commission. I wanted to make sure everybody is aware that Deborah Lockwood, an incredible Planning Commission chair, is her term of service is ending this December. We absolutely need community representation on the Planning Commission. And so anyone who has any kind of bandwidth or energy and any knowledge of land use, please look into that application. And there's another opening. Oh, Clean Water Services, I think, still has an opening on their advisory council. I know of a couple of people that have applied, but they haven't heard back. So I don't know if they don't know if it's been filled or not, but it hasn't been published if it has. So we really need
I don't remember.
as Bruce mentioned, those who speak up get represented, and it's really important to hear from the community. And hi, everybody, it's Fran.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you for that reminder.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, so something to think about, Planning Commission, other opportunities, they are always listed on the agenda that comes out to you on a monthly basis. And if you ever choose to join our steering committee, there are some openings. So we have a great time. So anyway, thank you all for coming. We appreciate your participation tonight and look forward to seeing you in November on Tuesday, the 12th, instead of Monday, the 11th. Good night.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.